Good morning, everyone. Are you awake yet? You probably
Whoa.
are now after that intro. We are the loudest morning show opening I think there is in any podcast anywhere, right?
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
say yes. All right. Welcome to Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive enthusiast auction sites like P-Car Market, Rad For Sale, Bring a Trailer, and Cars and Bids. My partner over there, Michael Deeb, coming to you live from the Bay Area. What's up, Michael Deeb?
Good morning, JP. What's happening?
Just doing the Las Vegas thing. That's where I'm at, for those of you who don't already know, which we don't have any new listeners. We have the same 4 people listen over and over again. Nobody else does, and that's fine. So,
Hi, listeners.
Welcome back, guys. We love being here for you every Monday through Friday at the 9 o'clock hour. What we do here is we nerd out. We dig through all these auction sites. We find the most interesting cars out of hundreds and hundreds of cars being auctioned off today. We find the most interesting ones for you, so you don't have to. And then we nerd out about these cars for a little bit, and then we get the rubber hits the road, and we make predictions of what we think these cars will sell for. And that is Bid Nerds. It's basically a game show, right?
Yeah, you did good yesterday.
I did. Man. Yeah, I got, we had a couple of, well, let's go over those in just a second. But before we do, make sure you guys hit the subscribe, like, and notification buttons. If you haven't already, that is right. Oh, man, the smash it term, that is like the YouTuber thing to say. Smash the like button. I just hate it, but it is what the YouTubers say. So I don't know. I don't know if I hate the term. I just hate the fact that we're, guys in our 40s. We can't say stuff like that.
40s? I wish.
Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Dude, I'm
God.
not a millennial at all, clearly. 50-something dudes. Trying to use internet lingo on the interwebs. Not a thing. But that's all right. Hey, one thing that we think everybody likes is our sponsor. Guys Custom is absolutely fantastic. You guys got to check out Guys Custom bracelets. Check out these bracelets. They are, look at that. These are custom made to match your watch or your car or both. This one here is called Guards Carbon. So it's a Guards Red. It's painted to sample Guards Red. The beads are individually painted with Porsche paint. And then it's got this carbon fiber thing in there. And look at Deeb is all excited about it. He's got his one.
Wait. But JP, did you see the email I sent you this morning before the show?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Porsche is trying to copy Guys Custom.
Porsche Design is copying Guys Custom. Get a patent attorney on the phone immediately. Let's go. Sue the crap out of them.
It's true. It's true. She had the greatest idea over at Guys. Guys Custom is spelled GYX_customs. The only place you can find a Guys Customs bracelet is on Instagram. And it's not like there's a big Shopify menu of different bracelets that you can buy. They're all custom made. Every single one is made to order. Yeah, they are bespoke. So the only way to get one is to DM her, the artist at Guys Customs, GYX_customs on the Instagram. And when you DM'd Guys Customs, you're going to reach Rochelle, and she's going to be the one that's going to make your bracelet. And they are really, really fantastic.
Porsche Design sent out an email today to their huge Porsche mailing list because Porsche Design is now in-house with Porsche Cars North America. And then they're probably going worldwide with their boutiques in Porsche dealerships. But anyway, the gist of it is today they did an announcement where they will, if you order a car, they will do a paint to sample ring around your bezel, and they will do a leather to sample band for your watch. So you can now have a Porsche designed watch custom designed to look like your Porsche car, which is something Guys Custom has been doing for over a year. So there you go. They are biting her style already on a massive level.
The great thing is that you don't have to be stuck with just the Porsche Design watch. You can get a Guys Custom bracelet to match any watch, from Submariners to Patek Philips to whatever,
anything.
all the different watches, you name it. She will make one to match it specifically. And man, I've seen some. That's the thing. Go to the Instagram page. There's a bunch of amazing pictures by Lee Patet of these watches, of like really amazing watches and Ferraris and Porsches, and of course Guys Customs bracelets.
Shut shout out to Jeffrey Chu for that shoot. Didn't he lend a few of the
Jeffrey and John Alcantara for cars? Yeah, we
Johnny
went over
Vegas.
to Johnny Vegas. Man, it was like a reunion of people who have ordered Guys Customs bracelets. We had there was some amazing hardware out there. But Jeff Chu, our friend Jeff Chu, he's like that kid in grade school that had the case full of Star Wars action figures
or Hot Wheels
or what have you. He has that, but with watches. He has every Rolex literally that you can get.
Wasn't there more money in wristwatches than exotic GT3s that day, and like McLarens and
Lambos, we had McLarens, Ferraris, multiple Porsches, and there was more money in that little box than there was out in the driveway. That is absolutely true. So check out Guys_Customs on the Instagram and order your Guys Customs bracelet today.
Congratulations, Guys Custom. That imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Is that how that goes, JP?
I think something like that. Yeah, we're going to go with that.
Absolutely.
All right, look at that. I've got a little lens flare over my shoulder there. This is we're going very Michael Bay here on the Bid Nerds. I need to get,
a slow-mo American flag to follow it up, right?
Yeah, we need a big dolly shot, big crane shot in here. And some like Transformers blowing things up and
totally.
I need to get those John McTiernan lens flares where John McTiernan, the director of some of the
Tropic
best movies
Thunder
of all time. Tropic Thunder, I'm sure, was inspired by McTiernan. But, no, he made Die Hard and Predator, and he used to say the difference between lens flare and lens glare is $50,000.
That's awesome.
Actually, my Mark Melville actually said that, but I like to attribute it to him. But anyways, all right, let's get to the show. We are going to make some predictions about cars that are going to auction off today. But before we get to the cars of the day, and we have some really, really cool cars today, Michael Deeb, this is the first day on the show that I can remember where we don't have a Porsche in the main lineup. We had some Porsches yesterday, but there are no Porsches. So the P-Car market is like, hey, there's no Porsches.
They're turning off right now. Yeah, they're not going to learn anything today.
Like, if they got some fake Ferraris, we could listen to these guys. Maybe.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
so true.
All right, well, let's get to yesterday's cars because we had some. Yeah. There were some big auctions from yesterday's, and we had Warren from Rad For Sale yesterday.
Warren Madsen from DWA and Rad For Sales, Mr. Santa Cruz himself. There you go.
Correcto. What was the big car of the day yesterday? We started out with that
GT3.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not start with that car?
Really cool. Before I jump into this car, JP, explain to everybody. You made a little thumb to advertise the show, and Warren posted it. And didn't FabSpeed comment on Warren's post about liking the car and liking our show or something? How did that go?
It wasn't FabSpeed. It was Sharkworks.
Oh, no. Sharkworks, the Bay Area version of FabSpeed.
Okay, there you go. Sharkworks. Sharkworks obviously follows Warren because Warren is somebody. We're a bunch of nobodies, so nobody follows us. So Sharkworks, thanks for the shout out to the show. They said nice things about Bid Nerds.
Oh, that's
probably
awesome.
Just saying nice things about Warren, but from Rad For Sale, because that's what most people would do. Nobody wants to listen to us.
So I'll start by apologizing for confusing Pennsylvania's, FabSpeed with Bay Area's Sharkworks, since I'm a Bay Area guy. But first of all, it's awesome that they gave us a shout out. Second of all, I owe another apology because the only thing I forgot to mention when we looked at this 2018 3,000 mile Porsche GT3 with ceramics, paint to sample, and racing buckets. That's the trifecta if you're ordering a GT3. Oh, by the way, it's a 6-speed manual, so that's all 4 boxes right there. Yeah. The only modification of this car was the rear muffler bypass. Basically, you've got headers and cats, then you've got sport mufflers in the rear wheel wells, and then on the GT3s, those two come together for a center muffler, and you've got this central sort of stinger exhaust that comes out of the middle of the rear valance. Sharkworks and FabSpeed for that matter do a delete when they usually do like an X pipe and it comes right out, and by taking that piece out you kind of uncork the stock sound, so the car still sounds stock but louder, and that gives it a really nice growl. And this is a very popular modification because you get a little bit of noise while still controlling the valve that sort of opens and closes and kind of keeps your car quiet at low speed and loud at high speed. And then the car will still pass smog. So this is one of the most popular easy modifications you can do to your GT3, and this car has it. This was a beautiful car, JP. You were right. I really thought that this car might struggle. I thought the green might be polarizing. It had 3,000 miles on it. I thought, it'll come in right under 200 grand. So I said 198, and Warren went 199, 999. And you said, you guys are crazy. This car will easily bring sticker, which was $238,000. But you just kind of conservatively parked your bid at 210. And JP, you were right. This car brought $5 grand over sticker and sold yesterday on Bring a Trailer for a whopping $243,000. Just consider this, JP. With transport and a little bit of a fee to BAT, this guy's in this car 250 grand before he pays tax and license on the car. I mean, that is a lot of money for a used car. I can't believe the figures that used GT3s are bringing in this market. 991.1s are a relative bargain because you can get basically the same car without the stick for almost $100,000 less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, easily $100,000. Yes, because the .1s had the .1s are plagued with a couple of pretty big issues that people are worried about. So you're seeing .1s go in that $110, $120, $130 on the high end, really, for a .1.
Yeah.
A .2. I mean, this car with the manual is a 911R. I mean, this is the car that everyone went gaga over in the first gen 911R because they got it right. If this car had the touring package on it, which is basically just the rear wing delete.
260, 270?
Yeah, maybe even closer to 300. I mean, we should go back and watch yesterday's show because I did say, not only did I say it's going to reach sticker, I said it's going to reach probably $140 and change, and I should have just gone that route, and maybe I would have gotten a Yahtzee because in my head I was like 145 for sure.
245.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 245. My bad. Thank you.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and honestly, just I joked that you were on vacation for a week, and it really is in just that short amount of time. In the last, we're talking month and a half, these things have just boom taken off. There are, we joke about, who would pay this much for a used car. Well, you can't get a new one. Like Warren said yesterday, these cars are unobtainium right now. So it's if you want a GT3, you pretty much have to get one that's got, how many miles does this thing have on it? 2,000 miles or something?
3,000 miles.
3,000 miles. I mean, it's basically broken in for you. Good to go. I would rather have this than a brand new one anyway. With that manual transmission, this car is beautiful. Bee's knees. Yeah. I think it's crazy. I hate to say it, but our friend Rami had his GT2 RS, and manual. He sold that. Yeah, well, no, his the 991 GT2 RS, and he sold that like 6 months ago, and from what he got on that car to what it's worth today, it's probably worth $100,000 more. I hate saying that out loud, but that is the honest God truth. And I don't think, we all saw kind of like, all right, things are going weird. We know that there's shortages, but everybody kind of thought, well, they're going to catch up at some point. Nobody saw this chipset shortage coming.
This is
nobody, crazy. Nobody really accurately said, okay, inflation really is going to go off the rails. There's a bunch of factors that we talked about on yesterday's show that
we did cover that.
Absolutely encourage you guys to go back and watch that episode for that reason. But there's a lot of things that nobody saw coming, and those of us who had Porsches and sold them 6 months ago or even 3 months ago are all sitting here going, holy crap, did we leave money on the table? Myself included. So if you've got a Porsche, it seems like now is the time to sling it. What other did we talk about any other Porsches yesterday? We did that 993.
We did. Yeah, on P-Car Market, JP. What do you think of that car? Bad result, man. We said this yesterday.
Yep.
What we're talking about real quick to cover it. It's a 1997 911 993 C2 coupe. It's white with a full blue interior, 6-speed manual. I think, JP, the car had 83,000 miles on it, or something like that, right in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It wasn't 100,000 miles, but it wasn't low miles either. It was just fair. Car had motor sound package, otherwise was largely stock. I do think that they adjusted the ride height, even if they just did ROW, suspension or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Car
definitely
sits
not
really
American
nice.
height. It's
Yeah,
it's
it
ROW
sits really
height,
nice.
but it's not
Yeah.
low. Yeah.
Yeah, it sits really nice, but it doesn't look like it's slammed to the ground. And they clearly didn't put like PSS 10s because they would have mentioned that. That would have been a $4,000 value or something. But anyway.
Well, wait a second. Do you think P-Car Market would have mentioned it? They're the kind
Well,
of they
you know
miss
what?
stuff
Fair
constantly.
point. All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, JP, we were talking about value of the car versus value of the performance of the platform. And so I said, JP, it's interesting because as much as we pick on P-Car Market because occasionally they get it wrong, they have been doing better and they have been occasionally getting it right with some of these cars. So I said $86,000 should be the value of this car, and I thought that this car might have a chance, although it wasn't showing signs because our car was sitting at 40 grand when we covered it with a couple hours to go. Warren said 85. You astutely took the under at 76, and our car only made it to $63,000 where it sold, which is crazy to think that the consignor of this car thought that $63,000 was a fair value for his car. Where did he set the reserve at 60? This doesn't make any sense to me. I think this guy left $20,000 on the table by not listing it with Bring a Trailer. That's a huge mistake in this market when supply and demand are so, far apart from one another.
P-Car Market failed this seller. This car
Absolutely.
should have been, you're 100% correct. This car should have sold for so much more. And I'm just disgusted by this. I just can't believe that they would even let him set a reserve quite so low. It's like, guys, and P-Car Market is usually the ones that are like, yeah, set whatever you want because they know they're going to send their used car salesman after people in their deal tank. This car would have been a perfect car for deal tank. If this car didn't make it, if the guy set the reserve at like $75,000 or something like that, this car totally would have sold for that in deal tank. They could have had their check jacket dudes make someone buy this thing. Here's the thing,
white belt,
people.
white shoes.
Yeah, don't get impatient when it's time to sell your car like this. The problem is that BAT is so popular that it does take a while to get your car for sale on that platform. And again, we don't work for any of these platforms. We're very good friends with Rad For Sale ownership. We make no bones about that, and we make that very clear. But we don't work for any of them. I'm just basically, we're speaking from our observations of all these auction platforms, and frankly, having sold cars on pretty much all the auction platforms, P-Car Market included, and I suffered a massive failure with those guys, and they were patting themselves on the back. And I was just like, you guys are morons. And the fact that this car sold for less than 70 and change is just bonkers berserk. This guy could have got more money for his car putting it on Craigslist, or PCA's classifieds or Renlist. I mean, if you put this car on Renlist or Pelican Parts forums, there's
you would have people fighting over it.
This car at 75 would have been gone in like less than 24 hours.
Yeah, you would have been entertaining phone calls on the way to meet the first guy you talked to get the money. Somebody would have been like, I'll give you more. I mean, you would have people fighting over it if he listed in the classifieds. It's weird because P-Car Market the P is for Porsche, but they are not Porsche experts. And no matter what they talk about, they're reading it out of a textbook. They do not come from experience. You can tell by the way they use their vernacular. These guys have no history with the brand. It's a flat out shame. And this was a criminal act to let this car go for 63. That's less than wholesale.
Yeah,
These
guys, they're they know a thing or two about Porsches, like you said, what they've read out of books, but they're just not enthusiasts, right? Their experience is based on car dealership BS. They're the guy that when you go to a car dealership and the salesperson has you sit down and you got to fill out that stupid piece of paper and they ask you, what do I have to do to get you into this car today? They're not that guy. They're the guy that guy has to go and sit and talk to in a little room somewhere, and he eats a donut while the manager, the guy, one of the P-Car Market guys, does all the math and says, okay, well, you go out there and you tell him that he needs to find another $50 a month a week. We can sell it to him for. They know they can sell it to. They just want to grind you for every last penny they can get, and that's P-Car Market. Yet they will leave money on the table if it's not their money. See, I think that's what's so insidious about these guys. I think That's what's ticking me off about P-Car Market is they are used car sales guys that aren't, it's like they're chicken S, right? They don't buy the used car and then sell it for more. They make you, the owner of the car, have to carry the car. And then they just profit it. So they don't care they don't care about the margin because there is no margin. It's all free inventory for these guys. And for a used car salesperson to be able to go, oh, look, we can have this car lot with all these cars on the lot and not have to pay for any of them. That is a used car salesman's dream. Right? Most used car salesmen have to sit there and go, all right, is this car worth investing in? How much am I going to make if I buy it for this price and that price? And they have to have some skin in the game. P-Car Market doesn't have any skin in the game. They don't care.
Nope.
They want to sell it for any number because any number is profitable for them. Probably not you, this poor guy. It wasn't profitable for this poor guy who only got $60,000 for his $80,000.
$20,000 to $25,000 left on the table. And he had to pay a commission. Imagine he's paying a commission on that 63 to P-Car. Just
shame on you, P-Car, for I mean, you basically took advantage of this poor guy. I mean, when you look at yourself in the mirror tonight, you took advantage of this guy. All right, let's move on. There were some really some other amazing results. You want to talk about this thing?
Yes, look at this, JP. I picked this car.
Crap.
I picked this car absolutely for you. If I could have put a bow on it, I would have. First of all, this lemon green or whatever they call this color, something yellow, whatever. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's kind of a chartreuse. It's, I don't know, whatever. This car looks like it's been refurbished to a respectably high standard. And I say that because a lot of Volkswagen things that get an Earl Scheib paint job, you look closely at them, especially when I look at the cars with you and you point out things that are incorrect underneath and they become glaringly obvious. This one, the attention to detail is there. All the bits are there. What do they call it? The duckboard floors, the bumpers, the exhaust going through the rear bumpers, the wheels, the hubcaps, even the old Volkswagen steering wheel reminds me of the early 70s. There was a lot to like on this particular example on Bring a Trailer yesterday. It's a 1973 Volkswagen thing refurbished, and this car looked great. So I went 37,000, and you guys all kind of made the same noise. You and Warren both went. And anyway, Warren came in at 32. You came in at 32, and Warren came in at 36.5 underneath me. Our car sold for $42,000 on BAT yesterday, liberating my crazy presumption that one of these cars was going to really set the bar high, and this one didn't. I mean, JP, this result will bring up regular things. Cars that you're going to say should be worth 14, 15, 16 in today's market that were $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 cars a handful of years ago are now going to bring 20 grand, and you're going to be upset about it. This car is going to piss you off. And I can tell you, it's coming. This summer, we're going to see a lot of things bring a lot of stupid money, and you're going to be angry you didn't keep your last one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I regretted it the second I saw it drive down the road. One of the most fun cars of all time.
Right.
Good for you, man. The guy who owns this car, or owned the car, great job, man. I gotta wonder though. I mean, that much money is just that. Our friend Matthew Whitesell, and maybe I'm stealing his thunder. He's going to come on the show, I think, on Friday.
Yes. What's up, Matt?
We talked a couple of days ago about a 996. What was that? The 996 Cabrio that went for
C2
something
cab.
like C2 cab that went for like $50,000 or whatever. This car right here, $52,000. And I was having a conversation with him, about being on the show, and he brought something up that I hadn't considered, and maybe you have. Maybe some of you out there have thought of this, but what a fabulous way to launder money.
Oh yeah.
If you have a car that's lame like this 911, and this is for those of you who are just listening, this is a 1990. No, I'm sorry, this is a 2000 model year 2000 996 Porsche 996 Cabrio in ocean blue over sand beige interior. All the beige, it's like the world of beige with some not Earl Scheib, but Les Schwab horrible crappy weave wheels. I mean, this should be a $19,000 car.
No IMS, four owners. Yep. And, it's a .1. I mean, it's a 3.4.
This thing should have, but instead it brought $52,000. But if you had a bunch of cash that you had to launder, why not have a couple of dummy a couple of buddies bid up on your car? Because, one thing that BAT, people don't realize, if you haven't ever used one of these auction sites, when you buy a car through BAT, you are not giving BAT your money for the car and then the owner gives you the car. They are not an intermediary for your cash. They don't escrow the money. All they do is put you together with the seller. So they take their cut. If the car sells if you buy a car for $100,000, they take their, 4 point something percent.
Yeah.
And they say, have a nice day. And here's the phone number for the dude you just bought a car from. And then you guys have to work it out.
Right. They are not a car dealership. They do not have a dealer license or dealer insurance. They are a dating service. And that's it. It's an online dating service. They're introducing people to one another that have a common interest.
Yeah. So you go and buy the car from the individual. So really, there's no way for anyone to know if that transaction completed or not, or how it went down, or if it was paid with cash or credit card or any of that kind of stuff. So if you're sitting there going, well, I just sold a kilo of Coke and I have an extra $50,000 laying around. I have no idea how much a kilo of Coke goes for, clearly. But I have this like $15,000 piece of crap car. I could just put it on an auction site, have two of my friends pretend to auction, to have this crazy number for it. And then if anybody comes and asks where I got the money, he was like, well, I sold this Porsche for $50,000. I think that's pretty brilliant, and Mr. Whitesell is one of the smartest guys we know, clearly. Yeah. And I think I'm going to start selling Coke now. I mean, what a great idea!
He's like a professor of other things.
It could, he does have some experience in the cannabis world through some of his mutual friends. Could this Volkswagen thing?
We call that the healing arts.
That's right. Very nice. Could this Volkswagen thing just be a ruse to launder a bunch of money, or do we think that was really what this thing went for?
I think that one's legit, but your C2, Matt Weitzel's C2 hypotheses,
he's onto something there.
It's like a sponge. It's like a sponge. It's got a lot of holes in it, but it holds water.
We are going to see a lot of piece of crap 996s going for huge money, I predict, in the next couple of weeks, just because of all four viewers of the Bid Nerds are going, oh, dude, I'm going to launder money. Here we go.
What? Yeah, now that everybody's going to run out and overpay for a C2 cab and check the glove box on the frunk for their rebate.
Oh, my gosh. All right, well, what else did we talk about yesterday? There's some interesting cars yesterday.
Let's whip right
BMW, yeah.
I got one right. Go figure. 2012 BMW X5M. I really like the car, especially for the value. The performance of these things is really off the chart. It is very Porsche Cayenne Turbo-esque. In performance specification, but perhaps even less reliably so. Warren kind of tore it apart from a maintenance and ownership outside of the warranty. And he said, please, buyer beware. That's why they're so cheap. So anyway, I went 25,000. JP, you said 23, and Warren split the difference at 24. The car sold for $24,751 for my second win of the day. And then our last car was another surprising result. JP, what we're talking about here is the 1992 VW Corrado that was on BAT. The car had like 6 bids and was sitting at $23,000 when we reviewed it with a couple hours to go. This car was tornado red, black dash, tan interior, low miles, 66,000 original miles on the VR6 narrow angle, normally aspirated torque steer monster Corrado. Beautiful car. Slightly unloved, like they don't get the respect you and I sort of think that they're due. But in any case, we're waiting for contemporary VWs to bring collectible money the way certain air-cooled VWs do. And I thought this one was poised to do so. So I again stepped out on the plank and I said 30 grand. And after you guys stopped laughing, you gave me a bid of 25 and Warren of 27. I don't think our car got another bid, JP. It closed and sold at $23,000 on BAT. So I got 2 wins. You got 2 wins. Warren got 1 win, but you were the closer between us, so that would be your third.
Yeah, poor Corrados. I just don't think we're going to see Volkswagens. I don't think water pumper Volkswagens are ever going to see big money. There it is.
Oh, come on, man. It's going to happen.
They're always going to be a beginner enthusiast car, and maybe the occasional it's not going to happen. Maybe they'll go up a little bit in price, but that'll just be kind of like along with inflation. I don't think they're going to step
Jason Camissa, who is a friend of the Bid Nerds because we're buddies, and I'm hoping one day will come on the show with us, owns a Scirocco 16 valve, and then he also has a Volkswagen Cabrio with the suspension set up, and I think he put a 2-liter 16 valve in that car. So he says people come up to him and they kind of laugh at him, and then he smokes them. Like it's just unbelievable. So he owns 2 Volkswagens, and he's an absolute driver, an absolute enthusiast. He could literally afford to drive whatever he wants if he wanted to come down. And of the 4 or 5 cars in his collection, 2 of them are VWs. I just think they're gonna have their moment, and we're just waiting for it to happen.
And for the record, I'm not discounting that they should. I mean, I'm also a huge fan of a 16 valve Scirocco. Right. I came up in Scirocco's. Scirocco's are my jam. Yeah. I just don't think there's enough 40, 50-year-old dudes that are so nostalgic for those cars that they just have to have one. If you're nostalgic and you're going back and you're going, oh, I want that car that I had in high school, it's like, you know what? Or I'm going to get a 911. What am I doing? That's the car I wanted in high school. I had a Scirocco. So I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get to the cars today. Yeah. What?
Do you have to be somewhere after the show? Can we take another minute?
Yeah.
All right. Really quickly.
Okay. All right. What are we doing here? What's going on?
Before I barf up my lungs, here we go. Cars and Bids sent out an email overnight, Doug DeMiro's site, that they have been in business now doing auctions for 1 year. Doug DeMiro sends a little thank you notice out to everybody that's registered, saying that the idea that he created on his patio a year ago has now grown into something very special. And so just really quickly by the numbers, JP, in 1 year, Cars and Bids has completed 2,752 auctions with a sell-through rate of 82.5%. I'd say that's pretty damn strong. They've done $42 million in revenue. They have 125,000 registered bidders. 9 out of 10 people that use it would recommend them. That's probably skewed. And 145,000 followers on social media. So congratulations to Doug DeMiro and Cars and Bids. All those numbers, I would say, on behalf of 50% of the Bid Nerds, that those are impressive numbers. And still, our critique holds water that if Doug DeMiro, who's now, probably has the opportunity where when we started our little thing 6-7 months ago and he was doing 3 or 4 cars a day, now he's doing 8 to 12 cars a day. He has the opportunity to turn 3 or 4 cars away on the daily and really start to curate a higher caliber of car so that a guy trying to sell a $100,000 Mercedes is not parking it next to a $2,000 Subaru pile of junk, something you have harped on from day one. And I agree, he needs a bouncer. They can now afford to turn some people away and bring up the floor of the average car on Cars and Bids. So congratulations to Doug DeMiro. We're very happy for you, and now do better.
I don't agree 100% that they deserve congratulations. I actually think they deserve congratulations for creating the site. But I think what the numbers I would like to see that they didn't put on their little infographic is where has the growth been? I mean, you say 3 to 4 cars and now they're 8 to 12. And are you sure about that? Because it's looking more like 6 or 7 cars a day. And that's been about what it's been since the beginning. I have not seen it go from 2 or 3 to all of a sudden 3 times as many cars. It seems like they went from 3 or 4 cars a day to maybe 6 or 7 and never, a dozen. That's like almost never. And on top of that, they, in a vacuum, those numbers sound pretty good. And this is where I think guys like Doug DeMiro and the P-Car Market guys do the same thing. They're patting themselves on the back going, here's our numbers in a vacuum. Great. We're doing so fantastic. 2,000 auctions, stuff like that. How many has BAT done in that amount of time? And how much growth have they had in the same amount of time? Because BAT went from doing 30 cars to 60 or 70 cars and adding 2 more days to the week. And so they're doing full 7 days a week. Cars and bids, I think, given their opportunity, frankly, are failing. They're only doing well because the market is doing well. They are in a boom for exotic and enthusiast car sales, and I think they are missing the boat horribly for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned. That they're not, they don't have a bouncer, and I just think they're stagnant and flat. But they're sitting there going, "Oh, we're doing so great. Let's take a victory lap." Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Guess what? eBay's coming. eBay is going to get into this game.
Totally.
And cars and the little guys, if they're not right there with these guys, they're not going to be able to compete.
Yeah. So for the record, just so our listeners understand, you and I split up the responsibilities of the show. You do 4/5 of it, and one of my jobs is to basically pick the majority of the cars. Just so you're aware, JP, on Wednesday, in the middle of the week, in the middle of the summer, Cars and Bids is going to close 15 lots today.
Nice. So, great.
The numbers have increased since we started doing the show, and that's because
I'm not saying that they haven't increased. I'm just saying that it's really not that much given how many cars are available, or how many slots and how many cars are being sold on the other platforms as well. I don't think they're taking a bite out of BAT at all. But I don't know, but I think the thing that we do agree on is the bouncer effect. They do need to step up their game, because that is the way that they do take a bite out of BAT's lunch. That's how they could dominate BAT. They have that opportunity.
See, I think BAT is taking a huge chunk out of Hemmings.
Yep.
And then Doug DeMiro's taking a small piece out of Craigslist regionally, wherever the cars come from, and a very small piece out of Auto Trader, which is a mammoth machine, the crazy listings. But anyway, whatever.
Which is also funny because he's sponsored by Auto Trader, or was. So he's eating Auto Trader's lunch. Like, whoops.
To Auto Trader, Doug DeMiro is little more than a flea. I mean, it's really not that big a deal. But if Doug DeMiro has carved out a little something for himself, and he doesn't have to, not to say work every day, he's working, but the guy can afford to drive whatever he wants because his show's got viewers, and his little thing is making a couple bucks. I tip my hat to him. I'd trade places with him, if that makes sense.
Only for his cash.
Of course.
Nobody wants to be saddled with that.
Not his wardrobe.
Not
his wardrobe, but his license plate. His license plate collection is off the chain.
Doug, we love you. I really, and I do appreciate Doug DeMiro. I love that he's been reviewing cars for as long as he has, and I have my criticisms, but that guy is a pioneer in this world. We wouldn't be doing this show if it weren't for a guy like him.
Right. Absolutely.
And, he is one of the greatest of all time. He is definitely dope.
Congratulations, man. Tongue in cheek, congratulations. Now do better.
Yeah. If they're doing a little better than our auction site. Oh, that's right. We don't have one. We're just critics, man. Let's see here. All right. Let's get to the cars for today. We've been jibber jabbing a lot about yesterday's cars. We got to move along and talk about some cars today. Like I said earlier, no Porsches. Make sure you hit the subscribe, like, notification button. Let's make some predictions, man.
Let's start with Doug DeMiro.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Why not? No, actually, the car that we're starting with today, the car that we teased, and I don't care what order after this, but that GT is a pretty big deal.
It is pretty bitchin'. Okay, so John picked out a 2006 Ford GT that is a one-owner car, ironically out of Nevada, Washoe Valley, Nevada. And it's on Bring a Trailer, people. JP, where is Washoe Valley, Nevada?
I have no idea.
Is that near Vegas?
No clue.
Or is that near one of the 7 towns that has legal prostitution?
Google Maps, man. It's your friend. Somebody figure out where this car is. I have no clue.
All right, so if you remember, JP, Ford GTs had 4 options available to them. And this car has all 4. So let me go over it with you really quickly for our viewers. This car has the factory option stripes, the silver stripes. It has the fancy Macintosh stereo upgrade. It has the alternate BBS staggered diameter wheels, 18-inch in the front and 19-inch in the rear. And it has the silver painted brake calipers. All this is wrapped around a 5.4-liter supercharged V8 that makes 550 horsepower, which is respectable. But because it's forced induction, it has a massive 500 pound-foot of torque, making this one of the quickest and best handling supercars from the early aughts. This is a great car. This is a one-owner example. that has 10,000 miles out of Washoe Valley, Nevada. This car was just $167,000 on the MSRP, but these cars have always traded in the $200,000 to $300,000 range, and occasionally, when we've seen spikes in the collector car market, some either low mile, high option examples, or the ones that had the heritage, like the Golf livery, have brought $400,000 and up. Tremendous car that harkens back to the GT40 from the late 1960s that won its class and won Le Mans outright several years in a row and became a legend. Ford went back to, kind of leaned on their own personal heritage to create a supercar and put themselves back on the map. And this is a great car. They're investment grade, and they're seriously fun to drive. You could do a lot worse with your money if you were in this range than to add a Ford GT to your collection. Very cool car to look at, very cool car to talk about, and an incredibly cool car to drive. What a way to go. I actually really like them. This one is beautiful in the gray with the silver stripes. JP, what do you think?
When this car was contemporary, Matt Farah did a video back then in one of his earlier videos on Drive, I think it was. And, he said it was the best sports car of all time at the time. And, I haven't driven one, but I want to believe him. Looking at this car, I feel like it's it's the car that Porsche should have made, even though the Carrera GT of about the same era you could make an argument is a superior car in lots of different ways. The minimalism, the lack of complexity in this car, even though it's an incredibly complex sports car, it still is really just down to the bare minimum. And I think it's more Porsche than Porsche. You could write a Daft Punk song about this thing. It is just like everything you need and not a dang thing you don't.
Right.
This is definitely one of the few cars on my bucket list that I would love to own that does not have a Porsche badge on it. There are a lot of Porsches that I would walk right by in order to get a chance to own something like this. And in this colorway, I just think it's just such a fantastic car. That interior, those seats, I mean,
Sparco made those seats, JP. How cool are those Sparco seats?
So
I mean, awesome. It's just great stuff. Ricardo is a racing. They make racing parts. Ricardo built the 6-speed for this car. I mean, they sourced some really good pieces to make an incredible car. And the guy who was in charge of Ford's motorsport division at the time was driving a Ferrari, I think like a 458 or an F430. And he was driving it to work in Detroit, and he had a bumper sticker on it that said, "My other car is a Ford GT." I mean, there's just, really neat. They drew inspiration from the best of the era, and they created something that is surprising even for Ford. With all the resources they had, it's not surprising when a big company with big resources still gets it wrong. And it feels like they kept the bean counters out and let the passion guys in. And this car is really cool. And it's held up well. Those lines are gorgeous today. Yeah. It's a really hot car. I wonder if I like it more than the new version of the car.
Oh, for sure. Oh, my gosh. I want nothing to do with the new one. The new one is a neat whiz-bang spaceship. It looks like a jet fighter on the ground, but who cares? It's like, so
this
what?
This car, I think you could drive. I really do.
Yeah. It's a manual for crying out loud. Yeah. The other thing too, you mentioned that they've always been strong. It's like, well, once the values got up to a couple 100,000, they've stayed there. But there was a while, for a minute,
there was
that you could get they could not sell these. These were sitting on the lot, brand new.
Because 2008 we had a big falling out of the economy.
Crash. So there was a moment you could get these for under $100,000. Under $100,000.
I don't remember that, but I do know that there was a minute or two where they were pretty, quote unquote cheap. But these have really been $300,000 cars for a while. And JP, with an hour and 10 minutes to go, our car is sitting at $307,000. So any last thoughts?
Yeah, man.
Here we go.
Yeah, just the other things don't look like this guy.
Yeah, so listen, this one's really nice. I still think you need a Heritage to get up close to $400,000 today. So I'm going to go $340,000 But the market is so weird today. I wouldn't be surprised if the bid on this blows right by mine and goes up to 360 or 370. But I think 340 is the fair value for this car with 3,000 miles on it, and not a popular color. And I don't know, whatever. Let's see what happens. 340. I'm going to just stick to my original bid from last night. 340, JP, where you at?
Yeah, I think a nanosecond ago, you're absolutely right, but everything's changed in the last 40, blink of an eye. So yeah, it's going to sail right by that. I think it's going to, I'll take the 360 and say it could hit 4.
Okay.
I mean, where do you get, this is again, a car that you can't get.
There's lots of white ones with blue. There's lots of blue ones with white. There's lots of red ones with white. The silver is rare. And if the Gulf is a rare color and brings a premium, I think maybe the silver one will too. So by that rationale, having 4 options, only 3,000 miles, it's in a dry climate. It's a one-owner car. I think you're pretty safe. You're probably going to win this one.
We shall see. All right, guys. Let's get to the next car. What else we got?
All right, 1995 Nissan Pathfinder SE 4x4 on Cars and Bids. This is a no-reserve auction with 150,000 miles on it out of Martinez, California, offered by the Photographer's Garage. JP, I think that handle rings a bell with us. When we started the show, honestly, in the calendar year last year, we had somebody, one of our early strangers, to reach out and submit a car for us to review, I think was the Photographer's Garage. Guy here in the Bay Area. I'm pretty sure he's reached out to us before. So if that's you, shout out, tip of the cap. This is a car that he's representing. He's obviously photographed it very nicely with you can see that he lit up the interior for the exterior shots, which is a pretty cool little trick. And this car, by all accounts, is very stock and very clean. This is pretty radwood, if you ask me, JP. I remember these cars from high school and college days. It has a 3-liter V6. It's normally aspirated. They're all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, and then they have this one's an automatic. But that champagne paint job, those hidden rear doors that almost give it the effect of looking like a 2-door SUV, and those really cool cloth seats. Why doesn't anybody make crushed velour seats anymore? I love this. I said to you before the show that I liked the Nissan Pathfinder over the Toyota 4Runner when we were in high school, and I think it's because the design incorporates these very soft boxed fenders in the front and rear of the car, and I think I always liked that, being a fan of the M3 and the Lancia Delta Integrale and 944s. I think the boxed fenders give the cars kind of a muscular, purposeful shape, and so I always liked the Nissan over the Toyota just on aesthetic. Toyotas have held their value really, really well. We'll see if this Nissan stands a chance. So with an hour and a half to go, JP, this car is at $5,000 on only 11 bids. But 150,000 miles and a car this clean, that doesn't scare me. I would think this car's got 150, 200,000 miles left in the tank before you have to do major repairs. JP, am I right or am I way off basis?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. These things are crazy reliable. They're of an era where, SUVs were still trucks that were being made to be utilized. The sport utility, the utility part of that acronym was still important. This was something that people expected to be able to go off-road. Nowadays, SUVs are really just crossovers. The hardest thing they're going to deal with is going around a shopping cart in the mall parking lot. But this is a rugged, they call them hard bodies, that body style with the box fenders. Look, another thing that's interesting about this era is this is one of the early Pathfinders. Back in the day, when you got an SUV that was all-wheel drive or a pickup truck that was all-wheel drive, if you wanted to put it in all-wheel drive, you had to get the heck out. You had to get out of the truck, and spin the hubs, lock the hubs on the front wheels. You can see this one. Let's see if I can zoom in on those. I know there's pictures of the wheels somewhere, but you can see on the actual hub, it says automatic on the top of this front hub, is because this was one of the first, what they called, shift on the fly four-wheel drive systems. And it wasn't really shift on the fly. You couldn't be driving along. Like nowadays in an SUV, that you can hit a button and all of a sudden you're in four-wheel drive, like in a Jeep Wrangler or something like that. Back then, you had to stop the vehicle, put it in neutral, hit the button, which is great because you didn't have to get out and get your shoes dirty to go lock the hubs, but at least you could stay in the car while it's raining outside, hit the hub lock, and then put it in drive, and then put it in four-wheel low or put it in four-wheel high or whatever. You know, the differential probably had two different speeds for four-wheel drive.
So there's a secondary shifter in the center console. It's 2 high, 4 high, neutral, and 4 low. And I imagine you do that while the car stopped, and then you proceed from there in that layout.
Yeah, and then to get out of four-wheel drive in these things, you had to put everything back in neutral, hit the four-wheel lock thing again, and drive backwards about 50 feet. It was always best to go backwards first before you went forward, because that would ensure that the four-wheel drive was completely disengaged and you weren't ruining your gears when you took off down the road. You know, it's archaic but insanely reliable. They never, ever, ever, ever failed. I've never heard of one of these failing. Whereas in modern all-wheel drive cars with shift-on-the-fly stuff, that stuff fails and fails often. So, you know, this is just a bygone era, man. This thing just feels like it was, you know, carved out of a hunk of steel, and you could just drive it into the apocalypse. Terrorists love these. I mean, this is like the forerunner. This is, if you're ISIS, man, you want this truck. You know, but anyways, all right. So where do we think this is going to land? They're not worth much, and they haven't.
They
been,
aren't. It's so
and
weird, right?
I don't see them. I don't see them getting big. Yeah.
If this thing were a stick JP, I'd be in play for this, but. On Doug DeMuro's site with 150,000 miles on an automatic, despite how clean it is, they're not bringing the big money. I want this to be an $8,000 to $10,000 car, but I don't think it is here today. So I'm going to go $7,000, but with a welling up of a tear in my eye. You know, pour some out for the Pathfinder.
Where is it now? How much is it?
$5,000 on 11 bids.
And you're saying 7?
Yeah, an hour to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll say 6. I'm going to get the under. I don't know if anybody else, but I think the automatic helps this one, because this is
really,
you can just go drive this thing around, and it's just, it's not a really serious off-roading vehicle. But the AC works or whatever, and this is a great alternative to an expensive new SUV, and you could take it off-road and have a good time with it without.
Well, all right, let's talk about your area. Like, that's an easy car to drive out in the middle of a dry lake, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, or the technical roads or forest roads or whatever, and you could do anything, because this is a stock height, right? It's not lifted.
Yeah, so, but it looks high. It looks like it's got good ground clearance for a stock car.
It does, but what I'm getting at is that when you look at off-roading trails, it's a factor of 4, or 1, 2, 2.5, 3,
right.
And there's like a certain level. It's basically anything below 2.5, you can get away with a stock 4x4 that hasn't been lifted. Once you get to 2.5 or greater in off-roading,
you need mods.
You better have mods. You get up to a 3, and you're like, well, you better have big tires. You better have articulating suspension. Blah 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 blah. Right. So this is the kind of vehicle that, you're right, is high enough that you could get away with, whereas a normal SUV may only be able to do a trail that's rated at 2. This thing could probably do a 2.5 without any trouble, and without ripping the front bumpers off and stuff like that.
And what is articulating suspension? Is that like a navigation system that says, watch out for that rock, Jonathan?
It is not, but that is something that
I was wondering.
Fully articulating suspension means that you disconnect basically the sway bar. So like it means like if you have a front if you have a solid front axle and your suspension is connected to the top there, you basically disconnect all that stuff so that the one wheel can be way up here and the other wheel can be way down there, and you can crawl over
driving.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So with full lockers on all 4 wheels, so in both axles, it gets pretty crazy out there. My Land Reaper has fully articulating, disengaged, fully just like all that stuff.
I was picturing like the navigation system on a Range Rover that has a girl with an English accent, and she's just enunciating everything correctly. So I'm glad you cleared that up.
Are boned. Your ABC air ride suspension module has failed. You are 6,200 miles from a service station.
Yeah. Oh dear, you stuffed it.
No one has tools to fix your new Defender. You're screwed. All right.
Oh my God. Or for oh my God, never mind, I forgot.
Yeah,
who has the Lotus?
David
David
Sullivan? Yeah.
Sullivan. Yeah, David Sullivan. Yeah, there are no parts for your car in this country.
It's true. That's the problem. Everybody's talking about the new Defender, and there's all these new vehicles. And, we talked about like this car being popular with the terrorist crowd. And that's because it's not so much that they're great and that they're reliable, which they are. The Toyota is more so because parts availability. If you're out in the middle, if you're in Afghanistan, pretty much the only thing on the road is Toyotas, because they literally ship container ships full of wrecked Toyotas from America, and they ship those to the Middle East. And when those containers get there, they unload, they pick and pull, and they just assemble cars out of all the miscellaneous parts, and that's why they're the terrorist cars of choice. But Nissans are right up there with them. They are very, very common stuff, and that used to be the case with old Series 2 Land Rovers. All over Africa, that's all there was, and they were super simple. Modern cars like a new Defender, if that thing breaks and you're not, within a few miles of a dealership, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to helicopter a computer out there. You can't Uber when you're, across the sub-Saharan desert or something like that, which is what you're supposed to be doing with these things. I don't know. We're talking too much about 4x4 stuff. Let's move on to some other cars. Let's go to the Ferrari.
P-Car Market has sourced a 1985 Ferrari 308 GTS Quattrovalvo out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Our car has just 30,000 miles on it and looks to be basically bone stock. Services are up to date, and this car is ready to go. Now, the Quattrovalvo means that the Ferrari 308 that was available in the 70s and early 80s has been updated with a 4-valve head. That was good for 240 horsepower and 190 pound-foot of torque. The other upgrade that's notable on these cars, the QVs, is that they went to 16-inch from 14-inch diameter wheels. These are 16 by 8s. Actually, I think they're 16 by 7 in the front and 16 by 8 in the rear. And these are magnesium wheels. Those are really gorgeous 5-star Chromodora wheels. That lower front valance that's on this car, JP, is not from the factory. That's an aftermarket piece, but that was a popular upgrade in period and just looks right on this car. Anyway, really cool car. The target top pops off and stows behind the front seats inside the cabin, giving you safe, open air driving. These cars are really fun to drive, but they're a lot of work. The pedal box is way off to the right to accommodate the front wheel well. The shifter, the gated shifter in these early 70s and 80s cars needs to be warmed up before you can use all 5 of the gears. And even when it's warm, it's slow. It takes a minute to get used to driving that thing. But the noise of this, chain and gear driven cams in a mid-engine layout that's right behind your ears is second to none. The motor sounds great. It probably revs to like 7,500 RPM. And while it's not as quick or as agile as a really well put together Carrera from the same era, these cars are arguably a teeny bit more fun to drive because they're just so exotic and unusual. You will also get a ton of attention if you haven't owned a Ferrari. Expect people to be hanging out of the window of their cars to take photos of your car while you're driving. Expect intrusions in your privacy if you own a bright red Ferrari. Don't forget the service intervals. They come often and they come expensive. But in between, you'll have a lot of fun with this car. The question is, did this consignor pick the right platform to sell this very nice low-mile example? And I'm going to go right away and step in front of you, JP, and say, hell no. This car is sitting at $46,000 with 3 hours to go. And in today's market, a 30,000-mile QV in red tan, I mean, we're talking about an $85,000 to almost $100,000 car in this market, John. This is a really low-mile example. It's really clean. The consignor is actually a reputable dealer in the Midwest. I can't believe they chose P-Car Market for this car. This should be on BAT all day long. I expect to see this car in the deal tank for $90,000, and I'm going to say that it doesn't even come close to that number. So what do you think, John?
Yeah, this car is so hot. I mean, it just oozes sex. It's kind of like you look at this thing and it looks like, you're in I don't know, the Riviera or something like that. Some exotic place in Europe, and there's just an unbelievably sexy Italian prostitute that you're like, that's going to be expensive. It's going to be awesome, Maybe, or maybe it's just going to be more heartache than you could possibly imagine. And the latter is probably the case. I want one of these cars so badly, but I know I don't. I'm too anxiety ridden to ever really be able to comfortably own one of these. It just, oh my God, that's gorgeous. But I think you're just going to get syphilis from this thing. And being on P-Car Market, oof.
Yeah, your relationship with that car should last as long as your hour with the Italian prostitute.
And unfortunately,
buy it to sell it.
Unlike the prostitute, you can go ahead and get a shot afterwards and probably take care of but there might be lingering long-term effects that will be with you for the rest of your life. One way or the other, you're gonna have a lot of fun for about a minute and a half, and then it's just gonna be terrible. Okay, P-Car Market, is this the right place? I don't know.
You don't pay the prostitute to come over; you pay the prostitute to leave.
Yeah. One thing I never knew, and I had no idea. I've never noticed that this little wing door with the vents over the rear window. I didn't know that existed. I learned something today.
It's
Thanks,
on,
P-Car
but
Market.
JP, it's on one side, and on the other is the gas cap.
Oh, that's awesome. Look at that.
And so on the GTBs, there's no louvers there. They're just glass, which gives a prettier look. But on the GTSs, you have those little wing things because on one side it's covering glass, and on the other side, the driver's side, it's covering the fuel filler door.
How much fun is that? All right, P-Car Market. It's always interesting when they try to sell stuff that's not a Porsche, and I think sometimes they've gotten lucky.
Or not even on the East Coast. This car is in the Midwest.
It's a roll of the dice, and we've seen them sell fake Ferraris. They got $50,000 for a Nissan 240, or it was a Datsun 280Z that looked like a Ferrari, sort of. Will this car bring as much as the fake Datsun Ferrari? What do you think? What's the number on this thing?
So JP, I'm going to say $75,000, and it fails to sell because this car will wind up in the deal tank somewhere between $85,000 and $95,000 an hour after the close of this lot. The consignor is making a mistake because I don't think he's going to sell it through P-Car Market, and he's going to burn what is arguably one of the nicest GTS Quattrovalvos available in the marketplace today. So too bad.
All right.
Bad mistake.
Yeah, big mistake. All right, well, I'll just go 1,000 over. I think, I'm going to give it a chance. I think this is a really cool car, and maybe someone sees it and says, all right. It's a gated 5-speed F car. How badass is that? In the right colorway too. All right. So that Ferrari, good luck to the seller. Good luck. You're gonna need it because you're on the wrong platform. How about this Mercedes? Talk about sexy in a different way. This is like, wow. You married this one, right?
I have such a love-hate relationship with this car because when you look at it, JP, it looks like somebody took a 300 SL and left it in the dryer too long, and it just shrunk one size, right? Yeah. It's beautiful, beautiful lines, very evocative of the SL from the 1950s. It has that legendary inline six and is a legitimate 150-mile-an-hour car from the 1950s. But this car is grossly underpowered, employing a 1.9-liter inline-four with a 4-speed manual transmission. I don't know. This would be a great car to go to Cars and Coffee on, but this is not a car I would ever dare to take on a driving event because it can't keep up with anything and they don't handle very well. And there's no amount of money you can throw at it to turn it into something that it's not. Short of doing some like bastardized Frankenstein S2000 drivetrain swap, where are you going to go with this thing? So a beautiful car to look at, but not a car I've ever wanted to own because I know they just don't drive that great. That being said, I'm sure somebody out there owns one and is like, what are you talking about? These are great cars to drive. But you know me, JP, I like to brake late. I like to, carry as much speed through the corners as possible. And I want to shift quickly. And this car doesn't do any of those things. So beautiful car, evocative of an era. They have really varied in values. They are market dependent. And there are a ton of them on the road. So you really have to do your due diligence. I would never buy a car like this without having it inspected to help me determine the difference between a good one and an original one versus another one that might not be as nice, might not have as good a history, might be hiding some problems. You could really get into trouble buying the wrong one of these cars. And you could also get into trouble buying one at the top of the market because as soon as the market recedes, you're going to get left hanging holding the bag on something like this. We've seen values for these cars jump up into the $200,000 and $300,000 range. Our car, JP, is in Tempe, Arizona. it's showing just 3,000 miles on the 5-digit odometer, which is really weird. So it's hard to determine what the real odometer reading should be on this car. But it's sitting at just 66,000 miles, and it looks a lot nicer than that. So I don't know, man. Gorgeous car, but I don't want it.
Man, I think you're paying attention to all the wrong details, man. I mean, it's like the Volkswagen thing doesn't do any of that stuff that you talk about, yet it's so fun to drive. You know, and the thing is, I've never driven one of these. I don't care what it drives like, because the thing to do with this car is to sit there with your best girl and go down the strip. I mean, you know, when you're driving down the strip, it's basically from red light to red light with a bunch of traffic, and you're out there to look cool, and this is just oozes, you know, class. I mean, it's just like, how awesome would this be to just cruise down the boulevard with her hair in the wind and just looking like the baller that you are. Who cares what it does around a corner? Who cares if it gets up to speed? I mean, the Volkswagen thing is definitely going to be worse than this from a driving point of view, but everybody and their brother and their mother and everyone's going to want to have a conversation with you, stopping at the light when the crowd is sitting there crossing not the freeway, but the Las Vegas Strip, and everyone's just like going, "Oh my gosh, who is that? What is that? That is amazing." That's what this car is for.
So
you know,
while we're covering this car, it just got a $4,000 bid. It went from $66,000 to $70,000.
Yeah.
Look, I'll take a chance on a thing at $20,000, but I don't want to take a chance on one of these at 6 figures.
Yeah.
I'd rather park my 6 figures somewhere else. So, like I said, I get what you're saying. If somebody gifted me the car, sure, we'd drive it down the strip, but I don't know.
Well, hold on a second though. What if it, you know, because there's always like, all right, you have that stable of cars, and it's time to go ahead and get a Rolls Royce or something, something to cruise, just like, again, to be seen in. That's not a sports car. I mean, I would way rather have this than anything Bentley makes, is made in the last 20 years, or Rolls Royce for that matter.
From the same era, JP, we're talking basically the entire decade of the 60s. Mm-hmm. I think for half the money, I'd have, I don't know. For me, I'd rather have a Cadillac convertible from the 1960s for $40,000, a really nice one for $40,000 than this car for $100,000, you know? So
there's probably a bunch of Italian cars, you know, little convertibles that aren't that fast, but you know, are going to be just as classy looking as this. But I don't know.
Lancia and Maserati have a host of them that are similar money to the Benz. So for the same money, sure, something Italian, and the Italian one will just sound a little better too. You know, it'll have a 6-cylinder or whatever.
I don't know. I still like that. I love that big diamond.
I get it.
How much is this going to go for?
I don't know, man. The values of these are so hard to predict. JP, I'm going to just go out there and say this could bring real money, because it looks like it might actually have seriously low miles because of it's showing 3,000 and change on a 5-digit odometer. So I'm going to go 129,000. It's also the right colorway, black with red interior. There's sheepskin covers in these photos, but there's other photos of the sheepskin removed, and the seats look fantastic. The leather looks beautiful. So I think this car is going to double in value at the close of auction because it's on BAT. It's the right platform. I'm going to go 129.
If ever there was a case for springing for photos, man, if you got a 6-figure car, hire a dang photographer.
Seriously.
Hire a photographer. You're going to lead, and because of that, because these photos are so uninspired, I mean, what the heck, in front of a gate with like tarps up behind it. That is
so terrible.
That's an insult to this beautiful car. I'm going to say $110. I think that the money is going to be left on the table because I think people are going to pass over this and not really take a closer look. At first glance, I thought this was one of those Carmen Gias that was made to look like one of these. You know, like you know, I was like, oh my gosh.
So JP, stop right there.
Stop right there.
You see those? They have those little wings over the front and rear wheel wells. You see those straight line wings. Somebody put chrome on these, and then he put a 190 SL badge on the front quarters. None of those things are stock. The car did not come with those things. So somebody cosmetically altered this car for personal taste, and I would say that's a detraction to hopefully he just glued those on and they can be removed with heat. But if he bolted those into the fender, you know, he's ruining the car. Like, what are you doing?
Is that a period correct thing to do? Is that something
a dealer
would have done back then?
No.
Yeah,
I've never seen it done
weird
before.
Stuff like that before.
Never seen it done and not stock. It's absolutely incorrect to the car. I stake my lowly reputation on it.
I believe you. All right. Let's get to. We still have just a couple more. One car to go. All right. Let's blast through this bad boy. What do we got here?
JP,
you picked a really cool car, this little Frankenstein. It's a 1989 BMW 324 TD Touring with a 5-speed manual. By all accounts, this entire car is unobtainium in the United States. We're looking at a car that has 224,000 kilometers, which equates to about 139,000 miles. It's offered out of Salt Lake City, Utah. The motor in the trunk is a replacement 2.5-liter M51 diesel inline six. Again, as I mentioned, it has a 5-speed manual. It's been repainted in silver. I love the black and violet design edition cloth interior seats. The sports seats are really cool, although the driver's one is in poor condition. The pattern for the interior for the seats is really cool. It also has 17-inch aftermarket AZEV wheels, which are correct to the era, but I don't think look right on an E30 platform car. The car is sitting on H&R Sport Springs. It's got an upgraded sort of M-Tech steering wheel, and it also has a sunroof. Really neat car to look at. I would change the wheels personally. I kind of think that the diesel inline six is a cool drivetrain. But anyway, just kind of a neat little Frankenstein car that was never sold. This particular platform was never sold in the U.S. This could be a Canadian car for all I know, but these were never here in the United States. So a really neat car that is sure to find a home with an enthusiast in the BMW, sort of community. Neat car on the right platform, but maybe not a lot of value there. So sitting with under an hour to go, JP, it's at just $8,500. So
is this a theft recovery or a salvage or anything like that? Because every single panel on this thing looks rough and beat up and hammered out, like with like a bolt, with like a just a regular. I mean, so the body is trashed. This thing is.
The problem on this one car, JT, is that JP is that it was a ghost on Carfax until 2017. So somebody brought it in 2017 to Florida. So, I mean, absolutely, this car could have gone through a chop shot to find its next owner. So, who knows?
I mean, it looks like it was repainted with a rattle can. It is in really, really, really bad shape. Every single radius and corner is wavy or bumpy or has overspray. I mean, this is a rat car. Now, that said, that doesn't mean it couldn't be fun. And interestingly enough, with all the problems... no, it does have cracked dash. I was going to say, hey, it's got a clean dash. Every single aspect of this car is compromised. Other than the mechanicals, which I have no idea because I haven't driven it. This thing is just... But the fun thing about this car would be just the utility of it. I mean, the fact that it's got that big wagon, it's a manual and it's a BMW with a straight six that's probably got some torque even though it's diesel. This thing looks like a ton of fun. Just don't get close enough to it to realize how big a piece of junk it is. If you embrace the dirt bag of this, you could have a great time. This is a dirt car. I appreciate it for that, but this is no longer and never will be a nice car again.
The E30 Touring, which is BMW speak for wagon, is one of the prettiest silhouettes. I mean, basically, JP, at a glance, right there, does that not look like a four-door GTI? I mean, it's a really great silhouette. And again, we mentioned him earlier. Our friend of the Bid Nerds, Jason Camissa, owns a 318 Touring that he rocks. I mean, he drives the snot out of that car. Neat car.
Yeah, if it performs and drives well, this could be a great, inexpensive way. I don't know if it's going to steal because, I mean, it's a piece of junk. This is never going to be worth anything because it is in such poor shape. But it could be a great way to get into a really fantastic enthusiast car that you could use with zero guilt because who the hell cares what you do to it? Wrap this thing around a pole, so what? Where is it going to land? What's this? How much is it going to go for?
It's at $8,500. It's got 45 minutes to go. I think there's another $1,500 in it. I'm going to go $10,000.
Wow. And it's what, at $8,500? Yeah.
Yep.
Oof. Gosh, it's in the right place. I'm shocked that it's even at $8,500. This thing is in horrible condition. I mean, it is bad. But it is a Touring.
It could drive nice. It could drive nice.
If it drives well, it's something fun.
It doesn't smell like vape fluid.
What'd you say? $10,000?
$10,000 to you.
I'm going $9,500. I just don't see it breaking 10. There's no way. I don't even know if it's good.
It might not get another bid. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't deserve one, but it could, and there it is. All
Still
right,
a great
guys.
pick. I'm glad we reviewed it.
Something fun to talk
By the way,
about for sure.
The photos in front of that building are kind of cool.
The photography.
Right.
This is one of those cars where photography is going to help this car. This car should have been a $4,000 or $5,000 car, but it might get twice that because the photos are pretty cool and the car just looks neat, right?
There you go.
All right,
agreed.
there it is, guys. Another Bid Nerds in the books. Make sure you hit the subscribe, like, and notification button so you know when the freshest nerds are available, because it is that's the best way to know. I mean, look. YouTube, what the hell, man? We do a live show at 9 o'clock, and then it doesn't show up on our channel for another couple of hours. So if you don't have the notification button, you will not see when the newest show is there for hours later. So notification buttons let you know that the latest, freshest, the least stinky Bid Nerds are available. So go ahead and get in on that action.
That's the cheat code, is to hit the notification button, and then you get fresh nerds.
Look at Michael Deeb dropping all that millennial vernacular. Okay, there it is. He's got the articulation button working there.
Totally.
All right, guys, we do this every Monday through Friday. Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day and all the automotive enthusiast auction sites, including P-Car Market, Rad For Sale, Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, and more. So join us every Monday through Friday. Tell a friend. Go on to the auctions for these specific cars that we've talked about and mention that you heard about the car on Bid Nerds. And then when you're doing that, you're helping us by getting more nerds to come and join the community. And we really, really, really appreciate you guys helping out. We love doing the show every day for you guys. Let us know your bids and let us know how wrong you think we are. We love hearing comments from our listeners and watchers who say, you know what, this should be the bid idiots, because that's what you two clowns are. And we couldn't agree more. So stick around, talk about us, and share the word. We will see you tomorrow. Michael, do you have anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah. We have 3 third nerds this week. We had Warren Madsen from GWA Radwood Rad For Sale yesterday. Can we tease? Is that okay to tease ahead? We have Steve from More Imports on Thursday, John.
That's tomorrow,
and then Matt Weitzel from the Pacific Northwest, huge air-cooled Porsche guy. I don't mean huge in stature, although he is a big guy, but just huge guy in the community and everybody. I love him. Matt Weitzel is a great guy, and we're going to have him on finally, long overdue, on Friday. So we've got a couple of guests coming up in the next 2 days. Definitely worth a watch.
Excellent, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We will see you tomorrow.